The impact of reality TV shows on the entertainment industry has been felt by many, and you can easily tell by the thousands of followers that casts on these shows have on their socials. Considering the wave that Street Outlaws has been making over the years, you will be hardly surprised by how attentive a lot of people have been to the happenings. One of the most significant of these happenings was the disappearance of Josh Day, aka Doughboy, from the show in 2020.
What about you, Doughboy?
They both ready.
Unfortunately, I had a bad wreck in my old car called Lily. I did pretty damn good last year, so I'm gonna try to do the same this year.
Speculations swelled about what might have been the reason, and there have been no clear stand on what really happened to him. Today, we will help clear up things for you on the issue and also let you in on his current status. Since Street Outlaws took the stage in 2013, everyone has been excited about what they brought to the table, a show like no other, shedding light on the largely illegal underground street racing in Oklahoma and satisfying the longing for the thrill that comes with it. The success of the show was something, and it quickly started branching out into several spin-offs, covering different aspects of the show in different places. This was how Street Outlaws Memphis came to be, covering the activities of the crew headed by Doughboy and further throwing light on the popularity of the show. Each member of the crew brought something to the table, which no other person could provide. The unique personalities seen by viewers, acting out their instincts, were the main attraction for viewers. So you can imagine what it must have been like when fans who have come to love Doughboy discovered that he was nowhere to be found. Questions started flying without any answers from the producers of the show. This resulted in a rising tension and theories that tried to connect the dots. Doughboy was born on December 31, 1990, in Joyner, Arkansas, into a family of racers, and was introduced to racing at a young age. Despite the early exposure to racing, he made progress in his education and graduated from Lake County High School. After his graduation, he started to hone his interest in racing, poised to take after his father. Determined to start a career in racing, Josh had to start from somewhere. He wasn't able to afford a car of his own, so he had to start with his father's 1962 Impala. Over the years, he has gotten better and better, building credibility for his skills on the street. However, his journey on the racetracks is dotted with several challenges and hurdles, which has been the latest obsession among the fans of Street Outlaws, who have come to love his person. But before we go into all that, the name Josh Day rings a bell, right? Well, that might be because he is connected with one other cast member on the Street Outlaws, Memphis. We are talking about no other person but the kind of the tracks himself, Doughboy, who turns out to be Josh's father. Here we have a story of a young man who must have spent most of his early days looking up to his father. Considering Doughboy's reputation on the tracks, he must have been more than willing to help his son find his place on the tracks as early as possible. Having someone in the family who is popular because of a certain skill often opens the way for anyone who aspires to the same position. However, living up to such dreams requires a whole lot of discipline, dedication, and hard work. If you know Doughboy, you will know that his name is synonymous with winning on the street of Street Outlaws, making his shoes a really difficult one to fill for anyone who aspires to be like him. Just being his son and sharing the same career with him is already enough pressure, as people will always look to find the skills of the father in the son. Luckily for the king on the tracks, his son has been able to live up to his reputation on the tracks, though he might have had a rusty start. Competition on Street Outlaws is very brutal, and there is hardly a place for anyone that doesn't consistently come out on the top. The prize money is often reserved for the first to the finish line. To be honest, street racing is quite an expensive venture. You might just need more than the money you get paid for each episode of the show to cater for gears, repairs, and, in extreme cases, new cars. Maybe this was the reality that hit Josh in the face and he upped his game, quickly growing to become a threat to the other racers on the tracks. Many of them just couldn't keep up. This wasn't surprising, though, as he had one of the best in the game by his side all the time. He never relented in his efforts to grow in the game and has become a pro in the competition. Things were going so well for the young man, and it was always beautiful seeing him together with his father on the show. But things took a turn when he disappeared from the screens in 2020. Josh hasn't exactly been active on his socials even before the disappearance, and even became more absent following it. There was just no way for people to reach out and find out what might have happened to him. Safety concerns in street racing have been the major reason there has been strong censorship on the show Street Outlaws by the NHRA, which is the body overseeing the racing community. Things can go wrong pretty fast, and there is often little to nothing anyone can do to ensure that they don't. But with the producers of Street Outlaws adopting what seems like a safer approach to the problem of street racing, which involved working with the authorities to hold the races on closed-off roads, the censorship seemed to have been eased, allowing the ever-growing fan base to have their longing for the thrills satisfied. But making the road safer for other road users hasn't exactly translated to a safe environment for the racers. There have been several accidents on the tracks of Street Outlaws, which have even been life-threatening on some occasions. Take, for instance, the case of Doughboy and his wife Tricia in 2022, where the couple almost lost their lives in one day. So you can now understand the reason fans were rattled by the disappearance of Doughboy. In the absence of any explanation from the producers, fans had to fill the gaps with several rumors that began to make waves at the time. One group believed that a cover-up for a scandal might just be in play. This particular take was from a user on Reddit, who insinuated that Josh might have been involved in a sexual scandal, which the producers were just trying to keep secret. If you are used to these television shows, then you must be familiar with the impact such scandals have on the show. Everyone keeps the accused at arm's length to avoid being roped into the saga. But in the case of Josh, this was just mere speculation, and there was no evidence to show that something like that was at play. For one, his wife, Chelsea Day, was still keeping up appearances on the new episodes of Street Outlaws, showing no signs of a squabble at home. However, the Reddit user explained this away by saying that the only reason Chelsea might still be around will be that her sister, Precious Cooper, is also in the show. Despite this accusation, there was still not enough reason to believe that Josh got roped into such a scandal. The search continued for an explanation. In a more extreme turn of events, some alleged that Josh might be dead and no one is saying anything. The stand wasn't totally out of place, considering that Josh had been involved in some accidents when he was still active. Coupled with the fact that he maintained total silence on his socials on the issue, this particular rumor began to fly among his fans. Something didn't add up, however. Although Street Outlaws is built on rivalry among the crew, there is hardly a time when this rivalry goes beyond the tracks. They let all reservations they might have about one another serve as a boost when they are on the tracks. So, they had a bond that kept them all together, being the main reason the show has been so successful over the years. That's the thing with these reality shows. The cast spends so much time together not playing out a script, but going about their activities as they would any other day. Fans enjoy seeing this raw relationship play out. Though they might have their on and off days, the bond that existed between them was real. So if they lose any one of them, it wasn't something that they would hide. This was evident when Flip died in 2013, when the show was still gathering its pace. Flip's death was a shock to the crew and the fans who saw him in the first episode of the show. His death wasn't race-related, and there was an unverified claim of a suicide. What stole the day, however, was the show of solidarity that the cast displayed. All the cast from the show had to stage a burnout to honor Flip. This was definitely an act that no one would miss. So if Doughboy had died, it was highly unlikely that the crew would just go about as if nothing had happened. For some time, fans were left to speculate and make wild guesses, until Doughboy himself decided to shed some light on what might be going on. He made a post saying that Josh was out for health-related issues and was receiving treatment for a dislocated disc. Though he didn't go into details about how he got the injury, it was most likely something related to racing. News later came out that he was taking part in an underground street racing event And that was when the tragedy struck. He ended up with an injury that kept him away from racing altogether. This revelation put a whole new perspective on Doughboy's story. The aggressive driving, the close calls, and the longing to leave a mark. It turned out that maybe it wasn't just about bravado. Maybe it was a young racer pushing his limits, not just to win, but to prove himself, to live up to the legacy. This news was a huge relief for fans who had thought the worst. There was a show of love and support for Josh, with many wishing him a quick recovery, but some persisted with the speculation. One thing was obvious in all of this, which is that Josh's absence created a gap in the racing community of street outlaws, Memphis. Fans often get so taken in by the unique traits of each character, such that they tend to lose interest when that character is no longer in the show. This is the reason why many shows have lost the initial traction that they had, following the exit or the death of a host. Seeing how popular Josh was, it was no surprise that a lot of people were concerned about his absence. But looking on the bright side, things are getting back on track. Just about 9 months ago, JJ Boss showed us a glimpse of what looked like the return of Doughboy to the tracks. The video was uploaded to The Real Street Outlaws on YouTube and has raked in several views. The video shows the racing legend and his family looking for an AC unit at Home Depot, having a fun family time. Later on in the video, we saw Josh working on a car. From the comments on the video, you will learn that a lot of people are looking forward to having him back. There are also concerns about his health status, and people expressed their wish to see him back on the tracks as soon as possible. The whole attention that Josh has gotten over the years has been an amazing show of support. It also shows the weight and impact some of these shows carry. Every day that he sets out to race, he must always have in mind that there are a lot of people rooting for him. As much as that can be motivating, it's also a lot of pressure. Though there's no evidence of this, Josh's delayed return might just have had something to do with the 2022 accident, in which JJ DeBoss and Trisha were involved. The accident was almost fatal, and they were lucky to have come out alive. This was true especially for Trisha, who ended up with more injuries. After some surgeries, the couple have made their return to the show, though not being as active as they were. We have to admit that even the bravest person has something they are afraid of. For the days, both parents having a close call, which could have been a lot worse, might just have been it. Surely they won't be so eager to have urged him on to make his return to the tracks. And outside the 2022 tragedy, Josh himself has been in an accident that made him reevaluate his position on racing. At that point, he wasn't sure he would be racing again. In an ironic turn of events, in one of the episodes of Street Outlaws, Memphis titled "Put Your Life on the Line," Josh was involved in a terrible accident where he lost control of his car and went tumbling. Luckily enough, he came out with little injury but wasn't so sure about himself anymore. All these events might have just weighed on him after he got this last injury, which might explain his absence from the show. The thought of leaving his family while taking part in the dangerous street racing must send shivers down his spine. Whatever the reason, though, we are just happy that things seem to be in order, and we hope that Josh is now fully recovered. Hopefully, there won't be a reason for him to take time off anytime soon. On the bright side, Josh must have had enough time with his family over the years that he has been out of the show. He has a beautiful family and is raising his 2 children. Josh might not be so keen on making his private life public, but we know that he is married to Chelsea Day, who hasn't been as secretive as her husband. From her Facebook posts, we learned that the couple got hitched in September 2015 and have been at each other's side ever since. They currently have 2 children, Cam and Nova, whom they love so much and are raising together. Chelsea herself isn't left behind on the racing thing and is an active member of the Street Outlaws, Memphis crew. She has the nickname Chila-Rilla, and she drives a 66 Chevelle and a 73 Camaro. Turns out the couple is bound by the need for speed, and we wonder if they will want their children to take the same path. This is, however, most unlikely, considering the current situation of things with Doughboy. he might now want to keep his children away from the dangers of street racing. We will know for certain in the coming years, but it is most likely that the children will have the sole power to decide what their fate will be. But we can't still sweep the power of influence under the carpet. They are just likely to key into the trend. Chelsea has shared some beautiful moments that the family has had on her socials, and it is clear that they have everything together, and we wish them all the best in their union. Street Outlaws continues to air new episodes, and we look forward to seeing the Days make a full return to the show, though being a little more careful this time. For JJ DeBoss and his wife Trisha, everyone will understand if they decide to take a break and spend time with their growing family. He has gathered a little fortune from the show, estimated to be worth more than $1 million. Having any other accident might not turn out so well for any of them. As for Josh and Chelsea, if they decide to continue with racing, we wish them well and hope they take safety into consideration. Though Josh's entrance into Street Outlaws wasn't exactly glorious, one thing was clear: the fans loved him. Maybe this had to do largely with Doughboy's charisma, and that underdog spirit resonated with the Memphis crowd. He became a fan favorite, a worthy competitor even amongst the show's established names. It wasn't long before he started standing shoulder to shoulder with the legends in the game, and hasn't slowed down ever since. Doughboy brought excitement and a touch of Memphis magic to the show with his bold personality. Whether he returns to the track or not, Doughboy's story serves as a reminder that passion and talent can take you far, but taking care of yourself is the ultimate victory. Street Outlaws continues to grow, and they have even dedicated a whole spin-off to honor the females among them. The title of the spin-off is Street Outlaws: Gone Girl, and you can catch this on the Discovery Channel. Now, you are all caught up on the Doughboy's disappearance from the screens. What are your thoughts on the issue? And do you believe that he should probably stop street racing after such an injury? Share your thoughts in the comments, and we look forward to having you here when we publish